Hey everybody, my name is Paul Eston Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. We are streaming live simultaneously in 3 different places. The Jet Zone Facebook page. It's a weekly New York Jets podcast. By the way, speaking of, you can listen to Zach Rosenblatt, New York Jets beat reporter for The Athletic. He joins me every Tuesday on the radio, and you can find that audio at the Jet Zone, wherever you find your podcast. Simply look for the Jet Zone. Again, Zach Rosenblatt there for that. We're streaming live on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25 for all things New York Jets. We've got a lot of stuff on the channel. Will Parkinson joined us on Monday. And by the way, Will Parkinson will join us every Monday on the channel after Robert Saleh speaks to the media. So, guys, bookmark that one for you. We also do weekly previews. Alex Kozora of Steelers Depot. That video is already up on the channel. Looking ahead to the Steelers-Jets matchup where both teams are in must-win scenario in week 4. You bet your sweet cheeks. So we got that one up on the channel as well. And right now we're streaming live for the Jet Zone podcast. We're going to be talking about the return of the king, the chosen one, Zach Wilson, and talk about the latest with the offensive tackle situation. Yikes. Zoink, Scoob. So we'll talk about that here on the channel and streaming live right now on my Twitter account at BoyGreen25. This is an interactive show, everybody, to remind each and every one of you that may be watching at home. Feel free to get involved, whether it's on the YouTube, on the Facebook, or the Twitter. Make sure you jump into the comments section. We'll get to you on the program. For StreamYard on Twitter, I don't see your tweets, so you're going to have to hop on over to one of the other portals, YouTube or Facebook, and make sure wherever you're watching, show your support. Like the video, retweet, subscribe, do all that fun jazz. And like I said, get involved on the show. We'll start it off with this. Robert Saleh, as expected, announced to the media that Zach Wilson has been medically cleared by his doctors. He was a full participant in practice today, and he is all set for the Week 4 road trip to the Pittsburgh Steelers and will play them. So Zach Wilson, the king, has returned, of course, and thank goodness, because I think I've seen just about enough of Joe Flacco's old 37-year-old ass. I don't want to see any more of that statuesque guy unless we have to. And even when we have to, I'd rather see like Mike White, maybe Chris Streveler, the Chris Streveler fans out there. Maybe that would be better. Or hopefully just Zach Wilson plays the rest of the season. So he missed the first 3 games of the year. Not ideal. But this is where the hype train can come in its full flower. Because, guys, if you really think about it, the Jets are 1-2. Okay, not bad, not great. We'd love 3-0 or 2-1 or what have you, but it's better than 0-3. And the Jets head into an eminently winnable game against Pittsburgh. And I don't give a flying hoot what anyone says. I heard Michael Kay when they were talking about the Steelers game being winnable. Winnable to who? He says. And others have said that on these airwaves on some of our shows that we've been doing. How is the Steelers game winnable? Based on what have you seen? What have I seen? Mitch Trubisky sucks. And Mike Tomlin was clear. He was adamant right from the get-go that Mitch Trubisky will be the guy for the Jets, and they will not consider a quarterback change to Kenny Pickett. And Alex Kozora, you can check out our Jets-Steelers preview, he said from the inside, from Steelers Nation, that they are nowhere near close to handing the reins over to Kenny Pickett. It is a lot more crazy on the outside of people talking about it than the inside. So a cool little nugget there from Alex Kozora. So we're getting Mitch Trubisky, a former number 2 overall pick who's been a friggin' bust. Okay, he's been a bust. He stinks. So you're playing a terrible quarterback, a questionable offensive line. Najee Harris, I like a lot, but to be honest with you, he's incredibly inefficient because again, the offensive line stinks, so he's just a volume guy. If you feed him enough, he eventually gets you a little something. Of course, the wide receivers and tight end are dynamic. I love Pat Freiermuth. He's a beast. Deontay Johnson's good. Chase Claypool's really moody, and that George Pickens guy is pretty good too. But at the end of the day, I've described it this way since talking about the Jets-Steelers matchup. It's like you're at a car dealership and you see a sexy ass Ferrari. You're like, ooh, baby, this thing is sexy. This is nice. Look at the wheels. Look at the rim job. Look at the paint job. Look at the color of this thing. And then they're like, well, let's take a peek under the hood. And then you're like, what the hell? There's nothing in here. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Mitch Trubisky is supposed to be, quote unquote, the engine, and there's no engine to be had because he stinks. So you can have all the cool weapons that you want, but if you can't get him the ball, it's not going to mean jack crap. Not going to mean diddly. So that's how I evaluate this Pittsburgh Steelers matchup. But guess what? On the defensive side of the ball, no TJ Watt. He's out. He was placed on IR, so he's not available. And Minka Fitzpatrick, their most dynamic player, was in the concussion protocol earlier this week. Mike Tomlin dropping that nugget, and he's a freak. He's just a magnetic to the football, so he is dynamic. So even if he plays and he has some level of compromise, I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick is a freak. So the Steelers' defense is compromised in some way, even without T.J. Watt. The offensive line is questionable. Mitch Trubisky stinks. This is a winnable game for the New York Jets on the road. And hell, if you get to 2-2, I know there's been a lot of chit chat this week about, boy, same old Jets. Here's this Jets team. But you know what? If they're at 2-2 heading into that week 5 Dolphins game, now let's see what's happening. Now, obviously, I don't want to look too far ahead. The Dolphins 3-0, of course, after beating the Buffalo Bills. But let's just see what happens. Robert Saleh is intimately familiar with Mike McDaniel. Maybe that is some level of an advantage. We will see. But we don't want to look too far ahead. The point is, Zach Wilson is back. That should give a dramatic injection of life to this New York Jets offense. And I am just excited to see it. That's what I was excited about week 1. And I got those tickets so far in advance, and I've yet to see Zach Wilson in person, unfortunately, because of extracurricular activity. But I am super excited to see him in this offense and see what he does with all these weapons. I think it's going to be spectacular. And of course, we'll talk about the latest on the offensive tackle situation. Let's welcome everybody to the show again. This is a interactive program. Dave Salvato. Paul, what's poppin', baby? You're the man. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Gohan Angered. Hi, all. How are you? Not a Mike White person. He's just as slow as Flacco. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a Mike White guy myself. Again, I think we all enjoyed the Mike White experience within itself. You know, it was cool. Hall of Fame game, all that jazz. But he stinks, man. I don't think he's slow as molasses. You're right there. And then also, he's just not good. Plain and simple. So I'm all aboard the Zach Wilson train, not necessarily Mike White. I mean, if I had to see a backup quarterback at some point, it better be Chris Streveler, not Mike White. Joe Flacco. Blah. It's just been a lot of crap. So he stinks. Yes, Dave, you nailed it. Mike White, not good. Dave, Zach just needs to stay healthy and give us some games to evaluate. Amen. I mean, that's really it. As we get through the, 14 games left on the docket, a very long season. A lot of people are going crazy. Robert Saleh needs to be fired. This and this and this all over on social media. Like, let's hit the chill pill, people. Let's hit the brakes. Let's bump the brakes there. I'm excited to see Zach Wilson. And yes, hopefully we get a batch of games. He just looks really good. And then you feel confident heading into the offseason, regardless of what the record ends up being. Oh, yeah, Zach Wilson, that guy's pretty good. I mean, that's what we want to see. That's the evaluation standpoint. And while the Steelers are good, super talented, I think what the Jets need to do in this Pittsburgh game is run the gosh darn football. You got Breece Hall, Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate, potentially. We haven't seen that quite yet, but I think he's this close to breaking off a crazy run. You got Michael Carter showing a little bit more chutzpah than anyone gave him credit for. So you got this nice 1-2 punch combination in the backfield. I would do that. If I'm Mike LaFleur, I am banging the running game and screens and really not, you could say protecting Zach Wilson, but working him back. This dude hasn't played football in like 1,000 years. You can even say the Eagles preseason game, but does that really even count? We're not talking about legitimate football since 2021. So it's been a long ass time. So I expect some level of rust naturally from Zach Wilson, but you can help a brother out by running the football really well. He starts getting the juices flowing. The offense is moving and grooving, get some play action game, perhaps move the pocket. That could help some of the offensive line issues, cut the field in half, make reads simpler, and start making some noise. That's what I would do if I was the old OC. Now, I'm just a podcast guy, but hey, take that for what you will. Gohan Angered. Yeah, I have a feeling they want to keep their young quarterback sitting for the whole year. They being the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes. That very well could be the case. That's why you bring in a guy like Mitch. Kenny is an interesting guy. It's cool. The hometown Pittsburgh connection, all that fun jazz. But, again, Mitch is just not very good. Mitch is just not very good. So, and great point here by Gohan Angered. Wilson has to play at this point. Robert Saleh speaking to the media earlier today. Let's play that clip. I kind of like that clip from Robert Saleh a little earlier today. When talking about, and essentially what he was, the questions he was answering was, what is like the shortcut to Zach Wilson rustiness? We were just kind of talking about that. Like, how do you crack the code here? Here's a quick clip from Robert Saleh earlier today saying there is no really secret formula to be able to do it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the only thing you could do is play football. That was the message from the head coach. Here is Robert Saleh earlier today at his press conference.
Is there anything you can do to knock that rust off in practice, or is it just he has to play again?
He has to play. The best way to play, or the best way to get better at football is play football. You try to simulate. We have our team comps, our different 2-minute competitions. We go against each other. We have our card periods, but at the end of the day, it's playing football.
And the thing that I will say right off the top, which I just absolutely love, is that Zach Wilson is healthy. Is that they waited for Zach Wilson to be right. Zach Wilson told the media, hey, I'm ready to go. I'm 100%. Robert Saleh needs 100%. So there's no training wheels. There's no, hey, we're not going to do this because of his knee. Like, the big thing for Zach is, from a mental standpoint, simply trusting the knee. And because of the weeks and weeks of building up practice, I imagine that's not going to be an issue. But yes, to evaluate him properly, he has to play. So to all the people that were like, I don't know, Pittsburgh's kind of tough. Maybe you wait till week 5. Oh no, Miami's tough too. Maybe week 6, week 7. Boo-hoo. Move on. Strap it on, people. For Pete's sake, stop playing with this loser's mentality, this bubble wrap. Oh man, let's get him in ideal circumstances. You want to know something? Let me give you a spoiler alert. Okay, nothing in life is ideal. Like, boy, this isn't great timing. There is no great timing. You just got to do it or you don't. Sometimes things are as black and white as that. And ultimately, the Jets are saying, hey, he's ready to go. Let's roll. That's the right mentality to have. I don't give a flying hoot how good this Steelers team is. And they're not, for those who are asking. But it doesn't matter. When he's healthy, he's got to play. You can't bubble wrap him. You can't hide him. We just got to see if he's the dude. And the one way to find out if or not he's the dude is by rolling it out and figuring it out. Thomas Cahill, hello. Howdy. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you. Thank you for the support. Appreciate that. Let's go to Raw Power here. Paul, it will be only a matter of time before national radio comes knocking on your door. Raw, that means a lot, I will say. I had a very interesting conversation earlier. Can't get into the deets on that, of course. But there's an interesting potential future opportunity. Well, wink, wink. We'll see what happens there. But I really appreciate that, pal. We will see if any of those opportunities present itself. But a tantalizing one, I will say. There was a conversation earlier today. My people, their people, given a conversation. I will keep you abreast on anything that develops from that standpoint. But I appreciate the kind words. Thomas Cahill, we need a replacement for McDermott this week. Thomas, that's a beautiful segue to talk about the offensive tackle mumbo jumbo that seems to be going on One Jets Drive. Talk about, Robert Saleh got a lot of flack earlier this week because he said, oh boy, back-breaking mistakes like Corey Davis slapping someone in the helmet or JFM roughing the passer. That's unlucky. It is what it is with some of those mistakes. Like, those things happen. Like, Saleh got a lot of flack because that was a stupid thing to say. However, sometimes, in terms of the unlucky factor, if we're going to use that term, what's happened to the Jets offensive tackle room, now that's unlucky. Mekhi Becton's leg imploding. Unfortunate. Dwayne Brown, one of the most durable guys in the NFL, suddenly just popping his shoulder. That's unfortunate. George Fant being placed on IR. Yeah, that's unlucky. Okay. 3 starting caliber offensive tackles all going on injured reserve. Now, if we want to call anything lucky, like, okay, let's call that lucky then, or unlucky, excuse me, in that sense. And that leads us to Connor McDermott. At this current moment in time, kiss your family, kiss your kids before bed, and pray for Zach Wilson and, quite frankly, just the team that Connor McDermott is set to start at left tackle. Now, Robert Saleh said, well, Connor McDermott's played a lot of games. Sure. But there is a difference between one Q word and another Q word. Quantity versus quality. Quantity versus quality. Here's a little lesson. If I had a laser pointer, we'd be pointing it around right now. Quantity means number of games. Yes, Robert Saleh. Checks notes, Connor McDermott has appeared in a number of quantity of games. A lot, relatively speaking. Now, quality, how good those starts were, now that's a separate conversation entirely, Mr. Saleh, because those quality of starts are lacking desperately because Connor McDermott stinks. I mean, let's just cut the baloney as thin as we can. Let's get to the brass tacks here. Connor McDermott sucks. Now, the problem is that the Jets were somewhat lackadaisical. When I say somewhat, not somewhat, lackadaisical in terms of ensuring the depth. Mike Remmers, a veteran, a guy who's played in playoff games, a Super Bowl champ, and all that fun jazz, played in Super Bowl games. Like, okay, that is a guy that's been around the block. Larry Ogunjobi, who I was about to say, Big Said, as Robert Saleh called him, Ogabui, the former first rounder for the Bengals, like, he's a guy that's played in some games, and they stole him off the Houston Texans practice squad this week. My beef necessarily with these moves is what the hell took so long? You should have been bringing these guys in, because now, to be honest, Thomas, it's probably unlikely that Ogabugi, and I butchered his name now, but Big Said, we'll call him that, and Mike Remmers, it's unlikely that they get scooped up on whatever it was yesterday, and that a few days later they could be starting in the lineup. That's probably unlikely to pick up the offensive scheme, for Remmers to get into football shape. He hasn't played legitimate football since last year. He was placed on IR by the Chiefs in November of 2021, so football shape. Big Set at least is on the Texans practice squad. He's been on their team for like the last 7 months, so he's good to go, relatively speaking. He's been playing football. But man, I mean, what took so long? You needed to be ready. Mekhi Becton has missed games every year of his career. George Fant has missed games every year of his career. Like, and Dwayne Brown is like 1,000. So, like, the Jets should have planned out for this much better and had those guys ready to go. So they should have signed those guys well ahead of time. In terms of replacement for McDermott this week, Thomas, I'm going to be blunt. I don't believe that either of those guys will be ready. Now, I will say this. Saleh left the door open, sort of, kind of, when he asked, like, how soon could these guys contribute? He said they're guys that could play, and we'll kind of see what happens. So he didn't completely shut the door on it, but I would be surprised, Thomas, with everything that's going on. Now, let's get to some positive here. What about Max Mitchell? A guy, I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch a lot of Ragin' Cajun tape, okay, this offseason, but there are draft guys that I respect and I believe in, and one of those guys is Connor J. Rogers. And as soon as the picks happened, I jumped over to the Bleacher Report stream and I cut out the clips of what Connor Rogers said on every Jets draft pick and tweeted it out. And he said Max Mitchell, this was Connor Rogers' report as soon as he got selected, and they went to the Bleacher Report desk. Connor Rogers, what do you think about said guy? He said he's a developmental right tackle that, hopefully will be competing for a starting job in 2023. Of course, we all know what actually happened. He was starting week 1 in 2022. So, not ideal. But the thing that has to be encouraging is Robert Saleh said earlier today, candidly, I might add, that he thought when they drafted Max Mitchell, they want all their draft picks to be long-term starters. But after you got past the fluff, he said that, honestly, I thought it was going to take a year or two for Max Mitchell just to acclimate to the NFL level, from a foot speed standpoint to a strength standpoint, playing at the Ragin' Cajuns to the NFL. There's a massive leap there. There's a massive jump, you could say, from that perspective. So, there's a lot there to kind of figure out as I kind of use my hands a lot when I speak. But I have to be honest, Max Mitchell has been a gosh darn revelation, quite frankly. It's been refreshing to see the Jets draft a guy in the mid-rounds who ends up being better than you think. Robert Saleh said he surprised the coaching staff. He's made some moves from that perspective, and now the Jets may have a cheap right tackle for the next couple of years. So Max Mitchell, I salute you, sir. I salute you. Welcome to the squad. So Max Mitchell, good news. Left tackle, not so much. But what I would say, Thomas, while I don't believe there will be a replacement for Connor McDermott this week, I think next week that's a different story. But in the meantime, what Mike LaFleur can do with his offensive play calling is twofold. First off, Mike Tomlin earlier today, I tweeted it out, said that the mobility between Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson is, quote, dramatically different. That's putting it lightly, Coach Tomlin, who, by the way, also, we'll play that clip a little bit later. I don't want to get too far off track, but Mike Tomlin doing some reverse back talk about the Jets safeties. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show, but I digress. Also, by the way, I will be on Buffalo Jet Fans YouTube channel tonight, so if you guys are looking forward to that, that'll be coming up a little after 9 o'clock for me, as me jumping on. So keep an eye out for that. Me and Buffalo alternate weeks. He'll be on my channel next week. I'm on his channel tonight, and vice versa throughout the entire season. So, guys, another shout out for that. for those wondering. But man, Max Mitchell, salute, sir. Salute. I really like it. So, old Max Mitchell looking pretty good. But what I would say real quick before I get to the rest of your comments, and also, by the way, guys, YouTube Super Chat is open. If you're on the YouTube, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Those are free things to do. But if you want to go above and beyond, you want to get your participation trophy, then feel free to hit the YouTube Super Chat where you throw a little tip in my tin can, and it helps support the show and shows that you love us. And also, you can feel free to join the Boy Green Super Fan Club for a cup of coffee every month. You can help support the channel, and you'll have a cool little logo right by your name, and you'll get a special shout out every time that you ask a question and participate. But what I would say real quick about the Jets and Mike LaFleur and all that jazz is that Zach Wilson is dramatically different in terms of mobility. Thanks, Coach. That's putting it lightly, according to Mike Tomlin. So he'll be able to evade rushers. That's what he did last year. Now, I don't want him doing too much of that, honestly, because of the knee. The knee's fine, but I don't want to put him in compromising positions on purpose. But you can move the pocket too and cut the field in half and roll away from those pass rushers, and in particular, just roll away from whatever Connor McDermott's doing at left tackle. So you don't even have to rely on him if you roll out to the right. Like, he just has to stand in the way with his body, and any warm body could do that. I think that's a good way for it to do. Braden NZL, now the season can start. 100%. That's how I feel, Braden. That, like, now the season could start, and the one win to me is almost gravy. Now, that may be a dumb way to look at it, but with the Jets at 1-2, I'm like, okay, great. It was hard to really predict what Joe Flacco was going to be able to bring to the table, but now they're at 1-2, and with Zach Wilson, a brand new season has started, essentially, so I really love it. Brandon Sanzone. I hope we can win, please. It's winnable. 100% it is. So let's see. The last time I checked, the Steelers like a 3.5, 4-point favorite at home. Not good. Justin Snow, I'm interested to see LaFleur's play calling. Same thing, Justin. That's what I just said. I think that is a way to kind of maneuver throughout this contest. I think that'll be important, and I think he'll put more on Zach's plate as we continue on. Back to Gohan Engert. I've seen a few question the OC this week. I'm the opposite with that one, mainly because in all three games, players are getting open. They just aren't being seen. If I was the OC, there would be no one. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, Gohan. Again, Elijah Moore, I think, is a talented player that's been getting open, but they just haven't been able to get him the ball. I think I blame that on quarterback, not OC. If guys are getting open, he must be scheming them open, or just the talent is reigning supreme. 100%. If you want to raise a question about Jeff Ulbrich now, okay, we can entertain some of those conversations, but OC, I'm not quite on that train. He had one really good game against Cleveland. There has been some spotty stuff in the Baltimore game and Bengals game, but I can understand it. 90-34. Crazy how the Jets got to have terrible luck dumped on them in addition to being a boneheaded football team. Yeah, it's not a great combination, 90-34. But hey, things happen. Thomas Cahill can't run with this O-line. Thomas, I'm going to aggressively push back on that. Quite frankly, they've proven they can run the football, but they just haven't been as dedicated to it. Now, I think it goes both ways, obviously. You would run the ball a lot more if you were up, and the Jets haven't been up. What all of like a minute and 22 seconds or whatever the stat is. So that's part of it. But in terms of just straight up running the football, they can run the football. But they just need to have a greater level of conviction for it, is to me. Let's see. Let's keep going here through all your comments. Braden NCL, tight end blocking support for a run game would be nice. Also in pass protection, that'd be another way to try to mitigate Connor McDermott's appearance, is getting a little tight end. Kind of doing what you did to Myles Garrett, but just in general to help Connor McDermott, where every time you gave him a body, running back chip, tight end chip, extra help, moving the pocket, doing all kinds of things to frustrate whoever. And Highsmith for the Steelers is pretty good. Will likely be lining up on Connor McDermott throughout that game. Let's keep going here. Daniel Faust, let's go to him. Scale 1 to 100. Jets win. What do you think, BG? Over 40% chance. I would give it and I'm crazy, I guess, a 65% chance. Now, some people are going to think that's ridiculous and silly and whatnot, but hey, Mitch Trubisky doesn't scare me. The weapons don't scare me. First off, because we have excellent cornerback play. Sauce and DJ Reed have been spectacular. The safeties do. So if you can pinpoint the safeties and cause those miscommunication issues, that could be a problem on the back end. But I'll go 65%. I'm feeling pretty good about this one, and we'll see. Obviously, we have no idea. Mike Tomlin did have a very poignant comment when he said Zach Wilson is a mystery to us because there's limited game tape, but also a mystery to them. He hasn't played this year, which is a very fair point by Mike Tomlin. 9034. If we're afraid to put Wilson out there against a team just because they're known for blitzing, how can you think he's the guy? Well, they weren't, so we don't have to worry about it. But I just don't get the fans that were saying that. I don't agree with that. Daniel Faust, the super chat, which by the way, if you guys don't know what a super chat is, you see this different color on the bottom of the screen. It guarantees that your comment gets answered here on the show and also supports the channel. So again, the more money you give, the different colors that it gives. So what if you guys do have money in your piggy bank, feel free to break it out. If not, I appreciate just the likes and the subscribes. That's always cool too, but you'll get a special shout out for all these. But yeah, 65% chance, Daniel, is what I think. Let's go to Hennessy Heisman, my boy. And God, look at that avatar. That's clean, man. What's that, Boomer Esiason? I love that Jets hat too, man. You're an absolute stud, man. I love it. I'm trying to get the game going here. Got the I was able to wear the Jets draft hoodie. I got that. Let me hide your comment real quick. Yeah, look at that. Got the the branding, the Jets draft hat, Jets draft hoodie. I got that, but I'm not quite at your level, Hennessy. But the worst thing Salah said this week is every team makes 6 to 7 mistakes a game. This guy and his excuse are killing me. Because, Hennessy, I'm going to be honest. That's how it came off. Now, Zach Rosenblatt, you guys can listen to the audio-only podcast. It's not video form, but audio-only. Again, look up the Jet Zone, wherever you get your podcast. And my interviews with Zach Rosenblatt every week are on that. He's the beat reporter for The Athletic. So you guys can listen to that in the car if you prefer, as opposed to some of these YouTube ones. But he said that Salah was trying to say something else. Like, it didn't come across the way he meant it. However, I can only interpret it the way I did, Hennessy, and it sounds like excuses. When he says, every team makes 6 to 7 mistakes. It just happens. And then he said, it's unlucky that 2 of our mistakes were for touchdowns. I want Salah to be pissed. Now, I don't need him yelling and fakeness for us, but show some level of accountability. That's annoying that, like, the 2 plays in particular that jump out to my mind in the red zone, LaMarcus Joyner and Sauce, this was the Bengals one, they talk pre-snap, and I assume they're like, you got that guy, I got this guy, yeah. And then hike, and then it's a freaking Jamar Chase touchdown. Sauce double teams the guy in the flat. I think it was Joe Mixon. And then LaMarcus Joyner goes and scratches his ass in the back of the end zone. I have no idea what's happening. But how did you talk pre-snap and that happens? That happens once. That's terrible. It's happened twice. And the one against the Browns was Jordan Whitehead. Sauce and Jordan Whitehead pre-snap, look at each other, go, blee, blah, blue, blah, blee, blee, blah, blue, blee, blah. Excellent. Amari Cooper wide open. I'm like, what the hell? Like, who's blowing this? I don't care who's blowing it, but that to me is unacceptable. And he doesn't have to have Salah doesn't have to have Boy Green chutzpah going, unbelievable, this is crazy, and be someone fake at the presser and start yelling all over the place. But I wanted to see be angry, like, no, that's unacceptable. No way we can fix that. To say, man, there's mistakes every game, I guess. Like, well, I guess we're just unlucky. It's just going to figure itself out. Like, these are stupid-ass comments, man. Stupid. So, yeah, it rubbed me the wrong way, to be blunt, Hennessy. I'm going to jump back up, but I see another super chat coming in. Let's go to Joe Musa. If they don't defeat the Steelers, get ready for another 4-win season. Joe, I'm going to be honest, man. To be blunt, that's why I say this game is must win. And the Steelers are saying it themselves, right? Like, Steelers are like, the Jets, we're going to beat them. But Jet fans should be looking the other way and say, oh, we need to win this game. And why? Let's look at the schedule, folks. And I don't even have to look at it. It is ingrained in my brain in some order. So the Jets have the Dolphins next week. They're undefeated right now. Now, we'll see Thursday Night Football against the Bengals, but right now they're 3-0. They just beat the Bills. That looks pretty tough. Then back-to-back road trips against Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau and then Russell Wilson in Denver. Now, the Denver Broncos have looked like a pile of rotten mangoes, okay? They look disgusting. However, it's still Russell Wilson. And we remember the last time the Jets traveled to Denver. Last year, they got blown out by Teddy Bridgewater. And Russell Wilson is better than Teddy Bridgewater. Hashtag analysis. I know. So you have those 2 games. And then you have 2 divisional games against the Buffalo Bills. Pretty good in the New England Patriots. Now, Mac Jones has a high ankle sprain, so he's expected to miss a batch of weeks. So maybe the Jets get lucky and they don't play Mac Jones, who killed the Jets last year. However, we don't know. So still, there's a lot of really good opponents on that stretch. The Dolphins, the Jets are not going to be favored in any of those games. Long story short. So it's just going to be incredibly difficult. So if you don't win this one, how do you possibly explain that you're going to win other ones? Now, the Jets often surprised Tennessee last year, Cincinnati last year. But to your point, I think it would really change the dynamic of the season to be 2-2. Okay, you're 2-2, and then you're heading into the rest of your year. I think there's a different level of acceptability there. Joe, thank you so much, by the way, for the super chat to help support the channel. We really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much. Let me see. We just went to Hennessy. Let me go. Also, again, guys, feel free to join the Joe Club YouTube super chat if you'd like. Motivated T. I want Flacco, McDermott, and Joyner off the team. Yeah, Joe Flacco, I don't get it. Again, I think at the end of the year, he's gone. He's a unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. I'd just promote Strevler and have him as QB2, but we'll see how the Jets feel. LaMarcus Joyner, remember in the offseason, he said, it was either the Jets or retire. You can retire, LaMarcus. You can retire. I don't want to be that guy, but we would have been cool if you retired, pal. Like, it's just ugly. Like, he had at the beginning of the Bengals game, I got to tip the cap where the cap needs to be tipped. I mean, he had a great pass breakup on Jamar Chase on a deep ball. I was like, whoa, Joyner, okay. And then he was trash. So, like, Joyner just sucks. He misses tackles, miscommunications on the back end of the defense, seemingly on every third down. Yeah, and McDermott sucks too. So, yeah, I'm all aboard with you, Motivated T. It's just garbaggio, just straight trash. So, I mean, like, can Ashton Davis be any worse? And by the way, talking about quality earlier, one defensive snap, one pick. Love it. Let's get Ashton Davis some more PT. Or Will Parks. Something, for Pete's sake. Like, what are we doing out there? Oh, man, we just need something. Motivated T, Mike Tomlin mocked our safeties. He's attacking them early and often. Yeah, let's throw that clip on the big board here. I'm going to pull that up. I can't believe it. So what I try to do, guys, if you don't follow me on Twitter, feel free. It's @boygreen25, BOY, green the color 25. What I try to do, kind of my niche, is cutting up clips I find all over from the internet, and then I just tweet them out. And then interviews and other cool stuff. So that's kind of where I play. However, one of the things I do is I listen to the opponent's press conferences. I find it kind of interesting, like what Mike Tomlin says about Jets players or whoever the team they're playing against. So I always find that pretty fascinating. So I was listening to the Pittsburgh Steelers press conference. Also, Mike Tomlin does it really interesting for just a weird kind of note that Mike Tomlin goes on this monologue to start his press conference where he just starts recapping the last game, and then he just starts breaking down whatever the team he's playing. He went quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, and just went through the entire Jets roster. And I found it fascinating. And then he went to the Jets safeties, and he had some things to say. So let's just play the clip. Here's Mike Tomlin talking about the Jets safeties. Let's go to Mike. Roll the footage.
In the safety tandem, Whitehead and Joyner, both really good tacklers, both really good feel guys in terms of having an innate feel for the game, being able to play downhill into the run, and also good versus the play pass.
I'm sorry, what? What was that, Coach? Can you repeat that, Coach? What the hell did you just say? Good tacklers? Good tacklers? Boy, I mean, come on. I mean, not only was that a massive troll job by one Mike Tomlin saying our safeties are checks notes, good tacklers. Zach Rosenblatt tweeted it out that LaMarcus Joyner and Jordan Whitehead are like the league leaders in missed tackles so far this year, both in the bottom. So an ultimate troll job by Mike Tomlin. But I think you're right, Motivated T, that it's almost like a secret wink, wink. We're coming after your safeties. Because he said, they stood out on tape. And they stood out on tape, of course, because they're not good. And again, I'm going to be honest, one of the absolute Debbie Downers so far of this young season is the fact of the matter that I thought Jordan Whitehead would be a stabilizing force on the back end of the defense. I thought he would just be rock solid. And he's been anything but. Now, is he playing through injuries and this or that? I don't know. That's what it seems to be. But, dude, you just got to wrap up, man. And it just felt like he tried to do a Madden hit stick, try to be on the Sports Center top 10, and he missed the tackle. If he wraps up that tackle, it's a dynamically different game, and he doesn't. He tries to be all flashy, and he gives up a 56-yard touchdown to Tyler Boyd. And that came a few plays after the JFM roughing the passer. I mean, just one mistake after another. So, yeah, the Steelers are going to come after the Jet safeties. Now, is Mitch Trubisky capable of that? I guess we will see. But, man, it is brutal. It is just brutal. Just tough. Let's see. Matthias, let's bring him up here. Well, let's hope Zach can help out the O-line, or it can be ugly. I think he's going to, quite frankly. Again, moving the pocket, those sort of things should help a lot. Let's go to Larry Tannenbaum. Any relation to Mike Tannenbaum, former Jets GM, who, by the way, joined us on this channel during the draft season. Let's get Elijah Moore in the slot and activate Mims for the 50-50 balls. First off, again, remember, Garrett Wilson got hurt in the game. By the way, he's fine. He was all cleared to go. Thank God. He's been spectacular. He's been cleared for the game. No issues whatsoever. Hopefully, though, the quarterback kind of helped him out, because Joe Flacco is kind of a jerk, putting him in the line of fire, and he got rail-rotted in that Bengals game. So help a brother out. You're supposed to look out for your receivers. Anywho, so I think Mims should be active from that standpoint, because they don't have an outside receiver once one of those guys goes down. So Mims should be activated. What do you have to lose? And Elijah Moore in the slot, if that can get him going, that's fine, because these outside 4th and 5 double team jump ball fades, I mean, like, Mike LaFleur, what the hell are we doing, man? Let's get Elijah Moore some feed, man. He's a talented player, and you need to know how to use him. Like, we've begged the Jets forever to have weapons, and now you have weapons, you don't know how to use them. So, like, hopefully they figure that crap out. That was incredibly frustrating. You nailed it, Larry. Let's keep going here. Righty. Let's see. Let's Go. Keep the comments coming, everybody. Again, this is a interactive program. Larry Romano. This season's all about evaluating our quarterback, but also this is a must-win game. And I want to make this clear, Larry, and anyone else that may get these lines confused. When I say this season's all about evaluating Zach Wilson, that's true. Again, heading into the offseason, regardless of your record, knowing like, oh, Zach's the guy or not the guy changes the entire outlook for the offseason. Because if he's the guy, then all the draft picks are just continuing to build around him and the free agent dollars. If he's not the guy, or it's a question, all of a sudden you have to have unnecessary conversation about, do we draft one of these top young guys in the draft? Do we try to go get a veteran? Like, you ask dumb questions. If he's just the guy, you don't have to waste any thought process on that. But I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. And what I mean by that is, just because I say the season's about evaluating Zach Wilson does not necessarily mean, hey, lose all the games you want to lose. You can win games and evaluate your quarterback. Like, he could have, 8-9, 9-8, and Zach Wilson looks good. And you're like, booyah. Both things are possible. So I want to make that perfectly clear. John Hepburn, hey, fellers, what's poppin', baby? And John, I love your unique intro. You always stand out from the rest. I love that. Rager HP. I'll assume that's Rager Harry Potter. I love that. That sounds even better. Do you feel the Jets need to change up the defensive coaching, or do you think they'll fix things up soon enough? Thinking emoji. Muy interesante, Rager Harry Potter. I will say this, that the New York Jets have no more excuses on the defense side of the ball. Last year, we have injuries. All right. We're in the first year of the scheme. Okay. We don't have enough talent. Fine. Excuse. And when Robert Saleh joined the Michael K show last year after the season, they said, hey, is Jeff Ulbricht's job safe? And Robert Saleh laughed in that radio interview and said, come on, guys, it's 1 year. There's no more excuses. They've got Sauce, DJ Reed, go through the gate, Quinnen Williams, Carl Lawson, JFM, blah, 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 Jermaine Johnson, all this talent. They've got the talent. They're in the second year of the system. And outside of Quincy Williams, who got hurt, which, by the way, I'm just glad they dodged a bullet there for the young man's sake. And Quan Alexander's going to get some more run. They got plenty of talent. They got the second year of the scheme. There's just no relative massive injuries, thank God, knock on wood, on the defense side of the ball. So there are no excuses. If this keeps going south, one of two things needs to happen, Rager. either Robert Saleh takes over play calling and says, enough is enough. He threw up his hands last year and gave us all those excuses. But this year, you're Robert Saleh, hired as formerly the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. You can't just come up and say, oh, my defense sucks again. Like, that's the reason you were brought in here, man. Like, because of your impressive nature on the defensive side of the ball, you need to deliver, pal. So, do the Jets need to change up the defensive coaching? No. I mean, you need to alter things. I think the problem is the Jets are super stubborn. Corners not moving around all the time, stubborn. Refusing to do more cover 2 concepts against a Bengals team that struggled in that, stubborn. So there's a lot of stubbornness. Obviously, the biggest one is the defensive line rotations, only playing Quinn in this many snaps as opposed to this guy. Stubbornness, because that's their philosophy, and they're going to live and die by the sword. And right now they're dying. Robert Saleh is 5-15 through 20 games as a head coach. And one of those wins doesn't even count. That was Ron Middleton. So, again, Robert Saleh has not won football games. Now, you can be stubborn as a friggin' mule if you win games, win championships. Like Bill Belichick, he's like, saying all this crap at the press conference. We're like, huh, who? Coach, what are you saying? Hey, kiss the rings, baby. That's what he's saying. Like, and we're like, oh, okay, you're right. You're the championship coach. Robert Saleh's not the championship coach. So he doesn't have the same level of credibility to give it this stubborn BS. He needs to deliver. So, to put it mildly, I wish they would adapt more, be willing to move and groove. Like if things are going south in the first half, to make more adjustments. Like they make some adjustments. I'm not saying they're not coaching, but I mean, it's questionable. So they need to fix it. So to me, I'd stay true, but Saleh better be close on that trigger. I don't know what it is, 4 games, 5 games, 8 games, whatever, but he's got to have a line in his head that if things keep going south, Ulbrich, hit the bricks, pal. You're demoted. You could be the water boy. I like Ulbrich, the guy, but this is about who I like. It's about production, results-oriented business people. It is what it is. So for me, Ulbrich, you can hit the bricks if you don't start fixing your crap, man. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Let's keep going here. John Hepburn. Flacco is a liability, while Flacco is junior. Save the money. Streveler's more athletic, plays closer in style to Zach. You've said this for a while, John, and I agree with you. Again, I think having quarterbacks of similar ilk are important because it makes the transition from one offense to the other easier if injuries happen. Hawk, MC2 needs to be on the field all game. I love Michael Carter II. Absolutely. And again, he kind of got blown up. He was in coverage. I believe he was on the Tyler Boyd play that ended up blowing up initially, but he's really talented. John Hepburn. Hey, what's up with Tony Adams? I've seen him have some nice hits during the preseason. Can he cover? Well, he can't cover Amari Cooper. I think we're all pretty blunt and clear on that, John. But in general, he does have a prior background as a nickel corner, which I think was of big interest. Special teams, nickel corner, safety plays a versatile piece. But at least from our coverage, knowledge from what we've seen so far has not been spectacular. But I'm not writing the kid off. He's a talented guy. Thomas Cahill, Jordan Whitehead is a pure box safety, can't cover, but is okay downhill. Now, according to the Buccaneers, and just using them as the example because they were the team that had him before, they used him in all kinds of roles, to be honest with you. So he wasn't necessarily a pure box safety. Now, he seems to excel closer to the line of scrimmage and being that guy, but to be honest, you say he can't cover. Well, right now he can't tackle, and he's supposed to be one of the best tackling safeties in football. It has been anything but so far. So he needs to clean up his crap. I don't know what's going on, the injuries, whatever. But come on, dude. You need to be doing that because right now it is super questionable and super, super disappointing. John, Flacco almost got Breece Hall killed. Also, can Flacco throw a better ball that's a Breece Hall touchdown? Now, Breece Hall dropped it. And again, at the end of the day, if it hit your hands, you dropped it. That's what my coaches used to say. But still, help a brother out. Let's keep going here. 100%. I've said this before, Cy Thompson, that hopefully we play Huff. Why is Bryce Huff cryogenically frozen on the bench? I don't understand. He brings pass rush juice, and the Jets are not getting after the quarterback. They have 5 sacks in the first 3 games of the season. That is unacceptable. Bryce Huff can't sack the quarterback. Get a brother on the field. Jesus. That'd be nice. KJ Dowtry. More man coverage with Sauce and Reed. Yes, please. Yes. Let's get more of that. They've been playing spectacular, and also they've just been marginalized by the crappy safety play. So hopefully the rest of defense can help a brother out because there's only so much they can do. They can only cover for so long. Let's see. Let's keep going here. Let's go to this one. Cougar Tamer Zach Wilson. Wow, what a YouTube name. Boy Green, honestly, even without TJ Watt, I feel like many Jet fans are forgetting about Cameron Hayward, who is, in my opinion, a top 3 interior defensive lineman. Our interior offensive line has not played well at all, which worries me. I'd push back a little bit on that last point. AVT has been playing balls out. Lakin started off horribly against Baltimore, but he's been playing much better. And Connor McGovern, again, is always just going to be kind of average, right around the middle of the pack. I'm not forgetting about him. Again, I'm not trying to brush off the Steelers defense. Just TJ Watt was the defensive player of the year, and he would, if he was on Connor McDermott, oh my Lord have mercy, I'd be very worried. Very worried. Now they got Highsmith, who's really talented, Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick, if he plays on the back end of that defense. Again, they have these elite playmakers at every level of the defense. So no, it is concerning. It's not easy. But again, I would try to run the football to make it happen. Let's go to Hanover Fist. Says hit the like button. Yes, please do. Again, wherever you're watching, show your support. We're streaming live right now on the Facebook page, The Jet Zone, my Twitter account at BoyGreen25, and my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. So like the video, hit subscribe. We have New York Jets videos all week, every day. So make sure you check it out. Really appreciate it. I love all these. Hit the like button. You guys are awesome. Let's see. Modine. This season is about losing again, most likely finishing last in the NFL. Well, either us or the Commanders. Yeah, the Commanders are not good. Carson Wentz sucks. But no, I don't think we'll finish last. Call me an optimist, eternal optimist, call me whatever. I think the Jets are going to be, middle of the pack. I think they're going to be in that 7, 8, 9 win ballpark, and I'm sticking in my 9-win prediction. So here we go. Flash Ossie Gordon from Panama. As the weeks go by, the draft class are looking good. Sauce, Jermaine had a nice run through a double team on a run stop. Garrett Wilson obviously looks really good. Breece Hall showing some sauce. So yeah, the draft class looking good, but free agent class is struggling. They must get better. Yeah, a lot of the free agency, things have just not been working well. George Fant going on IR. He's a former free agent addition, out for 4 weeks now. Not ideal, obviously. But the good news is Dwayne Brown is eligible to return in week 5. So in a perfect world scenario, you replace Connor McDermott with Dwayne Brown. Max Mitchell's playing great, and that's your starting tackle tandem. And then we'll figure it out down the line with a potentially healthy Fant. I think that may be the way to go. Raw Power. This rotation thing is following Ulbricht's earlier comments. It's a problem. Put your best players on the field. I will say that any criticisms of Ulbricht must also be for Robert Saleh. Ulbricht is a disciple of Robert Saleh. It's Saleh's system that Ulbricht's running. Now, Ulbricht is the one calling the plays, but that is a Saleh thing as well. I want to throw that out there. And also, we haven't talked a lot about this on the show because we don't talk about former Jets often unless they're playing the Jets. Frankie Louvu doing some damage for the Panthers. Man, they love that guy down there. He's been spectacular. Thomas Cahill brings up DeMario Davis is another one. Jets kickers in general that are just lighting it up elsewhere. That's pretty cool. I'm trying to think of another former Jet that's just balling out right now. None jump to mind, but DeMario Davis would probably be the biggest one. Let's see. Jets gang. We don't have to fire Ulbricht. We could demote him to an assistant DC. There you go, Jets gang. There you go. Not willing to fire people. I love it. You know what? Let's all do that. Nick Russo. I think we all misjudged in thinking this was a great scheme and didn't take into account how good the previous players were. I think those two things aren't Nick, to be honest, the scheme is great. So the scheme is what it is. The scheme works in other places around the NFL. So it's not the scheme's problem. Now, maybe the talent isn't what it is, but to me, I think that they don't have Nick Bosa and all these other guys. I don't think they have this elite all-world edge rusher. They have a lot of good guys now. That hasn't proven to be dynamic enough yet. You need probably a true destroyer of worlds, and then the offense focuses on them, and that opens everything else for everyone else. I think a good example is Buffalo. They struggled to sack the passer last year. They bring in Von Miller. Of course, Von Miller is destroying people, but his presence is opening up the doors for everybody else. Perhaps that's what the Jets need ultimately. That could be something to consider down the road. But I think the scheme's fine, and the players need to prove themselves. They're getting paid a lot of money. They're not scrubs. Carl Lawson, $45 million. John Franklin Myers, $55 million. And Jermaine Johnson's a first-round pick. Jacob Martin got paid. Quinton Williams, a number 3 overall pick. He wants to get paid. So the talent's there. They just need to step up. Jets NY 102, one of the best on YouTube. Great work, Paul. Appreciate you, pal. That means the world to me. Thank you so much. And I love it whenever you guys are able to say nice comments and things of that nature. That means a lot. And I love all the support we've been getting on the channel. So, guys, feel free. Thank you so much, Jets NY 102, for all your support since joining the channel. I really appreciate it. Again, YouTube Super Chat, guys. Guarantee your question gets answered. I'm going to only be on for an hour today, so we get another 10 minutes on. So if you want to guarantee your comment gets answered, I try to get to them all. YouTube Super Chat, throw a little change in the tin can, and I will get to you for sure. All right, let's keep going here. Yep, hit the like button, everybody. Please do. Yeah, there we go. Gohan Angered. We should be drafting a new center in the next draft. We should have, taken care of this probably in a few other realms. Corey Lindsley, again, that free agent that went to the Chargers. Tyler Linderbaum, people wanted. Creed Humphrey was the one I wanted 2 years ago. That would have been nice. He's been a stud for the Chiefs, but yeah, you got to solve it eventually. Connor McGovern, UDFA next year, so or UFA, excuse me, unrestricted free agent. So we'll see how that one goes. But yes, we do need a center, no problem, no question. Mighty Buffoon, the Vegas line is the Steelers winning by 3 points with the over/under at 41.5. Any thoughts? First off, on the Vegas line at 3, they're at home, and what are they? Steelers lost. What? They're 1-2. Is that right? I think off the top of my head. So they're 1-2, trying to get to 2-2. Jets 1-2, trying to get to 2-2. So the line is not surprising. 3. I think it opened at 4.5. The over/under at 41.5. Now, one of the shows I listen to, and it gives us plenty of fodder for our receipts section on social media, is I listen to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, Jay Croucher, and a couple other guys, which, again, they give us a lot of content. Thank you very much for all the receipts for dumb things that they say, like Matthew Berry saying Joe Mixon top 5 running back play, and he quote-unquote called the shot. Joe Mixon over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he sucked against the Jets, so thank you very much. But one of the things I learned is Jay Croucher, he's a betting guy on there. He says that the average NFL score is about 48 points. So you judge that based on your over-under numbers. For instance, if your average score is 48 points, when an over-under is at 54.5, like they're betting an extra touchdown happening in the game. In this case, it's the opposite. They're betting an under touchdown. I would still go over, because here's how I look at it. And I'm not a big over-under guy in terms of my bets, but here's how I always view over-unders. For the most part, outside of rare exceptions, anything can happen if you think about it, because a loose ball, scoop and score a touchdown, like a broken play, like anything can happen. So getting to the over, in my estimation, again, outside of rare exceptions, you could just find a way to get to, Mighty. So to me, I'm like 100% an over guy, again, outside of rare examples. So the 3 points doesn't surprise me. That's what it should be, somewhere in that ballpark. Steelers are at home. Acrisure Stadium. I got to get used to that one. Not Heinz Field anymore. The ketchup bottles are gone. Although they're doing like this new thing, I heard. So they dumped Heinz, but when the Steelers score a touchdown, virtually digitally, they dump Heinz ketchup all over the place digitally at the stadium, which is kind of weird, but whatever, I guess. Hopefully none of that's happening, which would mean no Steelers touchdowns. We can only hope for that. I'm worried our offensive line is on life support. We're putting Zach Wilson in line to play. Hope this is not a recipe for a disaster. Well, it was a recipe for disaster with Joe Flacco back there. Zach Wilson can move and groove. That should be a sign of some level of hope that he can get things going. And also, so I think you could break it down in a lot of ways here, Cy. Zach Wilson can help the offensive line by moving and grooving. Mike LaFleur, with his play calling, can help the offensive line with their issues. That's going to be a factor. And then, of course, the offensive line can help itself with tight end blocks, chips, running back chips. I just think you just have to be super focused, and I think you can make things happen from that perspective. Larry Romano, Zach gets out of Pittsburgh healthy. That would be a win in my book. Yeah, it's just going to be great after seeing him out for so long, Larry, to see him just go in a game, run through the game, come out, and I just want to make sure he doesn't do stupid things. Now, I don't want to hamstring a guy who his calling card is improvisational skills and moving outside the pocket and making plays happen. Like, that's cool. But like the Eagles game where he cut back into the middle field for what? Like, every time I want him to answer this question. I get it. We have the Jacksonville run where he ran all over the place. But like every time I want him to ask a question, almost subconsciously, what's the risk versus reward here on a play? Like, should I cut it to the middle field? No, I can just go out of bounds. Survive. Next play, next play, next play. You just got to look out for the team because the quarterback is the most important position in the game of football. So he's got to look out for his teammates, especially with a history of within 10 months of injuring the same knee. Like, dude, you got to figure it out. So that's a factor of injuring that knee. Let's go. Jets could have Clowney for cheap. I just saw this one from Thomas Gale. I love Jadeveon Clowney. He's a freak. I love him. Let's go to this one. Jahamizi, 45. How could the talent get a chance to perform when they're only playing 50% of snaps? Great question. And it's almost like that cold turkey thing off the bench. It's actually kind of impressive what Quinnen Williams has been able to do considering those factors. But I hope they just let the dogs off the chain, so to speak. Who let the dogs out? I'm hoping it's Ulbrich. You know, who let the dogs out? Who? Let this Jets defensive line out. That would be nice. Let's go to this Ablob Studios. Love the show, Paul. Question for you. Do you think ZW's practices will have contact so he could get acclimated to getting hit? Do you think Zach Wilson practices with contact? I'm assuming is how you mean that question. And yes, there is light contact, but it's nothing crazy. He's got the red jersey on. Quarterbacks don't get hit in practice, so it's light to non-existent. However, what I would like to see in the Pittsburgh game, now you never want to see your quarterback get hurt, but if he could kind of get bumped a little bit and he just kind of that defense linemen do this now because they're kind of afraid of the roughing the passer call. If, he throws a pass and the defense lineman just kind of gives him a little, chicken wing and he kind of, rolls back a little bit. I just kind of want to see him get bumped a little and go. And so for us to go, whoo, and for him to go, all right, here we are. We're good to go. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see that. In terms of practice, again, I don't believe that is it. But Robert Saleh kind of said this at the presser today. It's also, you can check out the video, on my Twitter account, is that, ultimately, there's no way to shake off rust. There's no way to simulate things. Like, you can try, like they did 2-minute drills, this, that in practice. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you got to play football. You just got to roll it out. So there's no way to, accelerate rust or move past some of these things. You just got to play football, and naturally that will help him. So not a lot of hits happening in practice because, again, and this across the league, quarterbacks, red jerseys, that doesn't happen. And plus, obviously, with his history. But the acclimation of getting hit, I think, naturally will happen in the game, but hopefully not to any serious level. But thank you so much for the YouTube Super Chat and for the support on the channel. That means the world. Again, guys, if you have any last-second Super Chats, make sure you guys get those in. I'm going to try to get to the last comments here. Before we get out of here, again, I'm only going to be on for another few minutes here as we go for an hour. Again, we'll take a couple-hour break, and then I'm going to be back on Buffalo Jet Fans YouTube channel tonight. So, again, guys, make sure you go check it out over there. That's supposed to start around 9 o'clock with me on it. So, again, 9 o'clock there for the Buffalo Jet Fan. If you guys want more questions and anything else you guys want, we'll feel free to hop on over there. Hennessy Heisman. We dodged a major bullet with Garrett Wilson. When I saw him go down, I was sure he wasn't coming back and probably missing games with our luck. I felt that way after the first one in Cleveland where he fell on his back and he held his back because that could be hip, that could be back, that could be spine. I'm like, oh, God, no. Of course, he comes back in the game, scores the couple touchdowns. In this one, he got rocked pretty bad, but he's just a lighter guy. So just don't put your receiver in positions to get lit up like a Christmas tree. I mean, that could be nice as well. So hopefully that's happening as well. Let's go through a couple more here. Trevor M. I think Pitt is the perfect place to, quote unquote, get the rust off. Hostile road place to play. Yeah, it's going to be a good opportunity. That's how I look at it, Trevor. The Steelers are not like normally, like when you see road trip to Pittsburgh on the calendar, you're like, oh boy, that's going to be a doozy. But Big Ben is gone. No Hall of Fame quarterback. The steel curtain isn't there. So if you get past the perception of like Pittsburgh, and hostile environment, I think you'll be good. Like the terrible towels and all that's going to be crazy, but I think it is a good test. Long story short, keep it simple, RC. Let's get the right expectations. Zach will be moderately better than Flacco as he acclimates. I think he's going to be better than moderately better. I don't think we need to have all-pro expectations, but I think he's going to be better than that. Keep it simple. But we'll all check ourselves. I'll be right on for the post-game show 2 hours after the game finishes, so you guys can hit me up right here on the YouTube channel, your number one stop for all of these as well, for all your post-game shows. All right, rapid fire here. James, more on the slot thoughts. Absolutely. I think they could get him going. He has slot and outside capabilities. Yes. Hennessy Heisman, Pitt will get Zach ready for Miami the following week. Yes, I think Miami might have a better defense. Could be a hot take there. That one to keep an eye on. And keep it simple, RC, with the final comment here. Also expect more tight end and more action. Yes, Naked Boots and Conklin has been a freak. Hopefully he could get better. Thankfully, he ended the fumble streak last week. Guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Jet Zone. Appreciate all the support, whether YouTube super chats, likes on the video, subscribes, whether you're doing this live or you're watching this after the fact. Thank you for the support. You guys make this possible for me to do this show. So I freaking love you people. And by the way, I hope you love the new beard game. Gave it a nice little update. Nice little, you see all the lining that's happening here. Very nice. And I don't even know why I get a haircut. I wear like a hat in every video. So why the hell I could save a lot of money if all of a sudden I stop getting haircuts. But I guess that's neither here nor there. Everybody, thanks for joining us again. Buffalo Jet Fans YouTube channel. I'll be on there at 9 o'clock tonight. We'll be right back on. So I hope you guys enjoy that. You can swing on over for all your questions, comments, and all that fun jazz. And of course, check out the other videos on the channel. We have Will Parkinson on Monday. That's on the YouTube channel. Alex Kazora, Jet Steelers preview. Or if you want the audio-only podcast, go for the Jet Zone on wherever you find your podcast. Zach Rosenblatt, baby, the Jets beat reporter for The Athletic. He joins me every Tuesday for an audio-only podcast. We'll have some more videos for you guys later this week. Hopefully I could surprise you with one more guest or two. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We will see you next time right here